What's up YouTube? Today's video is going to be on the new product from the HD Fury. So HD Fury has a new product, the 8K Vroom, and we're going to dive into that in a few minutes on the computer. So this is a new device that is 8K, it has HDMI 2.1, and it supports 4K, 120, and 8K upscaling. So I'm really excited to talk about it and to see what all the new features are. All right, let's head over to the computer. All right guys, let's take a look at the 8K Vroom 40 gigabits per second. So 8K Vroom kit includes the device, choice of power supply, infrared sensor cable, RS-232 jack cable, jack optical cable. So you have your infrared sensor, your 3 HDMI outs, I believe it is, HDMI ins. Looks like that's the relay port, infrared, RS-232, SPDIF, your LAN control, eARC, downscale, ARC, 1080p, 720p. Alright, so let's look at what the differences are between the 8K Vroom and the 4K Diva. So 40 gigabits per second pass through or upscale on VRR or variable refresh rate, or any signal while extracting full audio from any HDMI source to feed any audio sound system with the best possible audio formats. So this is the world's first 8K and variable refresh rate and HDMI 2.1 sound extractor. Okay. It supports HDMI 2.1, VRR, Dolby Vision, low latency Dolby Vision, HLG, HDR10+, DTS:X, and Atmos, and more. So this is good to see, HDR10+. And the reason why it's good is because you have Dolby Vision, and then you have HDR10, and you have HDR10+. Now with Dolby Vision is dynamic HDR, which means Dolby Vision can, on the fly in real time, adjust contrast settings and colors on a scene by scene or even a frame by frame basis in some cases. HDR10 doesn't do that. HDR10 is just HDR, and then you're basically left to calibrate your display, your TV, your monitor, your projector, and hope that it looks good. I mean, you still should, calibrate it anyway, but you as the user are left to try to decide what looks best. And that's really difficult because I don't know anyone that has the time or is going to adjust on a frame by frame or scene by scene basis while watching a movie. That's just not possible. That's absurd. HDR10+ is the direct competitor to Dolby Vision because Dolby Vision, HDR10+ is now dynamic HDR. It can do, color reproduction and contrast reproduction as needed in real time on a scene by scene or frame by frame basis. And that's important because you want to see the movie the way that the director intended you to watch it. So that's very good that that's included. And that's really cool because these new projectors from Jvc and Epson, Jvc has HDR10+ on it now. So with these devices, the 8K Vroom and the 4K Diva, you should be able to get the full Dolby Vision bandwidth, not just the low latency Dolby Vision. Low latency Dolby Vision is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I'm so glad that I have it. I'm glad that I have this device. But now the HDR10 Plus is comparable, and HDMI 2.1 with the 40 gigabits per second, it should be able to support, the new projectors should be able to support full Dolby Vision with these devices. You're just not going to get the Dolby Vision flag that pops up like the TVs do. And another thing about that too is, as I was explaining to someone in the comments a few weeks back, you very well might have a TV that can display the full bandwidth of Dolby Vision. But because of licensing, these companies, some companies don't like to pay for the licensing, the Dolby Vision or the Dolby licensing. So if they have a TV, a model that has Dolby Vision on it, they have to pay licensing for every single one of those TVs, and it gets expensive. HDR10 Plus is open sourced. A manufacturer does not have to pay licensing on HDR10 or HDR10 Plus. So that's why some manufacturers will go the route of just having HDR10 or HDR10 Plus on their TVs, while your TV may very well be able to display the correct, color spectrum and contrast that Dolby Vision does. They just don't want to pay for the licensing. So you may get one of these devices and it may very well do the full Dolby Vision. It's just not going to have the Dolby Vision, flag that pops up. Okay, I digress. So let's see. 40 gigabits per second upscaler splitter switcher. Okay, that's the same as the 4K Diva. I'm trying to look for anything that stands out. So obviously 2.1, HDMI 2.1 stands out. That's the biggest thing. It'll upscale VRR and any signals to 2K to 4K, 4K to 8K, 2K to 8K. No upscale for 1080i, 720p, 480i, 480p. So that's really cool that this thing will upscale to 8K. Obviously, your display has to display that because you're not going to get, 8K resolution on a max 4K TV. So if you have a TV or projector that does 8K, all of your devices, Xbox, Apple TV, NVIDIA Shield, all your other devices should be able to be upscaled to 8K with this device. So that's pretty cool. Finally, allow DTS sound from source to your sound system, even if your TV doesn't support it. I'm kind of confused on that, what they actually mean by that, because I get DTS no matter what, even if I didn't have the 4K Diva. So I'm not sure what that means. Let's see, ARC, eARC retrieval from TV ARC to any HDMI. So that's pretty cool. So with eARC, ARC, audio return channel, you couldn't get Dolby Atmos over that because it just couldn't handle the bandwidth. With eARC, you can plug up your Xbox directly to your TV to get the, the full 4K, 120, 4K 60, 120, whatever. And then from your TV to your receiver or through this device, it'll send the Dolby Atmos back to your receiver. ARC doesn't do that. eARC supports more bandwidth. So it supports 1080p 120, 1440 120, 4K 120, as well as VRR, okay? Dolby Vision content playback from Dolby low latency Dolby Vision capable source on any HDR10 display for improved picture quality. All right, let's see. HDCP 2.3 to 1.4 conversion. I don't know if anybody's really going to need that feature. Increase or decrease nits value of HDR metadata in real time during HDR playback. That's very important. And that's like I was saying with HDR10, it doesn't do that. HDR10 Plus will do this for you. So, and I'm assuming it's saying, like, it says that it supports HDR10 Plus. Where did it say that? Set it up here somewhere. I don't remember where it said it, but it said it. So I'm assuming it's basically saying HDR10 Plus. That's what it does. Web server. So this is going to be your best way to configure the device. I never use the OLED on the actual device. The web server is it's awesome. I can even pull it up from here, and I'm not even in my theater. Okay, what else? Let's see, is there anything else? So yeah, that looks like pretty much the big difference is the HDMI 2.1 spec, which gives you the 4K 120, you know, 8K upscaling, all that stuff. What I am confused about is the price. So $459, right? $459. But if you go over to the 4K Diva, which I have, it's $499. So a newer product that has more features on it is cheaper than the 4K Diva. So like, I'm confused as to what the selling point is now for this. Again, great device. I have this device. I love it. I would even argue and say that it's probably the most, one of, if not the most important pieces of equipment in my setup because of all the things that it does, and allows me to get Dolby Vision on my projector. But two things. One, why is this one more when it doesn't have the same features as this one? And why haven't they dropped the price on this? And I went back and I compared, like, I can't find anything that this device, the 4K Diva, does that the Vroom doesn't have. Like, if there was some other feature that was on here that wasn't on here, okay, maybe you could justify having this be $40 more. But I'm really confused as to why this device is $40 cheaper and it does way more stuff. So that's a little bit confusing. I would love to test this out. There's really no benefit of me having this. I am a little bummed out that I bought the 4K Diva in July, so a couple months ago, and now this one has come out. And what I was saying was, there's really no benefit for me to have this because I don't have anything that does 8K. Well, I think the Xbox can do 8K. I don't even think it can do it right now. Currently, they'll probably come out with an update later. But I don't have anything that's going to display 8K. My projector doesn't have 8K. So, but the fact that if I had known, I would have waited, it would have been cheaper, and I would have been able to future-proof myself with 8K. I'm probably not going to invest in 8K in any time soon. But this is just so weird to me that this device is more expensive than the 8K version, which I would assume that I would think that they would charge more for this, the Vroom, now that it does HDMI 2.1 and has more features than the 4K Diva. So I'm really confused as to how they're justifying these two prices here. But 8K Vroom, if you have an 8K display and you don't have Dolby Vision, then this is going to be the device that you want, and it's cheaper. So good stuff. All right, so more exciting news, more tech, more gear, 8K. Now, I don't have any 8K devices. Pretty much the only thing that can do 8K is my Xbox Series X, and I don't even know if it's capable of that right now. There probably will be an update later that will enable that function. I don't know. I don't have anything 8K. I don't have any 8K displays to test it with to see if it even works, but I assume that right now it's not even enabled. Microsoft hasn't enabled that 8K feature. But if you have an 8K TV, it's nice to know that if you get the 8K Vroom, you can upscale all your devices from 4K to 8K or even 2K to 8K. So that's really awesome. I would love to get a test unit in. I did reach out to HD Fury, and unfortunately they said that they don't do test units. They don't send those out. I'm not really sure if I believe that, but hey, I have to take their word for it. But let me know in the comments if you guys are going to pick one up, and if you do pick one up, I'd love to hear about it. All right, guys, catch you in the next video.